Well, yes, welcome to Transformation Tuesday, July 11th, 2023. Do you believe that? July 11th, 2023. Transformation Tuesday. We've come to you every Tuesday with guest speakers from all around the globe. And this is Paradigm Shifters. Paradigm Shifters, we are a dedicated, global, growing, global community dedicated to shift and uplift the planet. And we've been coming and doing this since 2020, believe it. And every month we have a different topic. And this month's topic is Rainbow Connections, generating love to all generations and people. So welcome. I'm excited to bring to you one of my good buddies, Grand Jan, right? One in here, Grand Jan. And I love the fact, I'm going to read your bio, okay? All right. Well, just say hi a minute. Just say hi to everybody when I'm going to read this.
Hi, everybody.
There you go. Grand Jan. Okay, Jan Meyer is, and I love the fact, Jan, that you said, this is the hardest thing I've ever tried to write. And you are a writer. And I think, isn't it funny how, we've got to write about ourselves, dig it from the past. And isn't it interesting? Because we're the ones that really know ourselves the best, all the ups and downs. So here we go. Jan is a writer, amen, a poet, amen, a musician who grew up in a very small town, small Texas town, with one stoplight. Can you imagine that? She spent a professional career of 32 years teaching third graders and helping kindergartner through fifth grade find their inner elf, in her public school music classes. Jan is a fervent practitioner of random acts of whimsy, like leaving flowers left on strangers' windshields in grocery store parking lots. Great idea, Jan. And hanging out with family and friends is a favorite pastime. Currently, Jan lives in Cedar Park, Texas, with a pesky little rascal named Waldo the Dog, right? And Waldo sings. So with that, come on in here, Jan, and tell us a little bit about, a little bit more about yourself and what you're passionate about.
Well, I am passionate about being alive. And I finally stopped saying when I wake up in the morning, oh, I'm so glad I'm not dead. I must have things to do today. And I was so lucky to spend my working career, my first working career, being surrounded, I always call them the little sweaty people, with all these wonderful elementary teachers and students who were my teachers. They taught me about grace, and there's nothing quite like students to teach you about humility, and that you don't know everything you think you do. And I was constantly amazed at their wisdom and courage to try things that as an adult, I probably wouldn't have been brave enough to risk in public. And of late, I've been blessed to be contacted through Messenger from some of my students. And we share some stories. Oh, I didn't expect to cry. But it's just so wonderful to see how they've grown and how the ripples of life and encouragement that they gave me and I gave them continue to spread. I mean, it's just amazing. They taught me about humor. They taught me to laugh at myself. When we would be putting on a production with 125 kids, and I would be rewriting the script with very clever jokes, we would sit in a script conference and they would say, you know, Miss Meyer, those are old school. Nobody's going to laugh. I said, well, I thought they were funny at 3 a.m. But anyway, so then we would sit and they would give me the most brilliant things to type into the computer to rewrite the script in their words. And of course, they were always right. They were funnier. I mean, secretly, I thought I was funnier, but, you know, it wasn't a mutual agreement on that. And like us all, I've been through great sorrow. I've been through depression. I've been through desperation. I've been through times of giving up. A couple of occasions, I almost wasn't here today, health-wise. But I'm still here. I'm still here. And I think about one of my grandmothers used to always say, I'd say, well, how you doing, Grandma? And she'd say, well, I'm still kicking my feet, but not raising much dust. And I thought, and I find myself saying that. And if nobody laughs, I say, she said it. But if they laugh, I take credit. And what I'm learning in this season of life, that is the connection with the generations, is that it's all about scattering light and listening, and the willingness to change my perception about what does tradition mean? What's important? And if I listen and really hear what they're saying, people younger than I am, which is almost everybody right now, have so much wisdom at their young ages. And I don't know what it's like to live in their world. I hardly know what it's like to live in my world. But if I listen, their stories are so incredibly wise, and they teach me about light. An example is one time my 3-year-old granddaughter gave me a little, eraser that was in the shape of a heart. And it had been it was torn, had a little tear in it. And she had found a little, oh gosh, I don't know why I'm crying. She had found a little tiny Band-Aid and put on this little broken heart. Wow. Wow. I think I'll write a poem about that sometime.
I just love that because it's a testament to all the heartfelt energy that you have given over the years to so many, not just children, but us adults too. And I know that you're on the other side of a health issue with
Mhm.
regard. So what I would, one of the things that I really love about you is your creativity. And I was looking on my desk and I have this jar of SOBs. Now, I would love to have you pass the story of the SOB.
Okay. Well, one of the things we would do in the classroom is we would sometimes, if I came in and I was grumpy, I would jump up in the air and clap my hands and say, everybody freeze, and run out the door. And then I'd come back in and say, oh my gosh, I had this terrible dream. I had come in grumpy, and all the kids were thinking, oh, I wish we had the other teacher. So then what we would do is we would put our fingers in the air and we'd count to 3 and go 1, 2, 3, bing. And we would start over exactly where we stopped when I ran out of the room. And I realized that when I got out in the, I'll say this loosely, adult world, we forget that we have those chances. So what I started, and I don't have one right here, but what I started doing is I have a little bag that says hugs on it. And in it are little red buttons. So when the opportunity comes, strangers on a plane, a waiter at a restaurant, people I know, I say, hold out your hand. And I put one of those buttons in their hand, and they close it, put it next to their heart. And then when they open their eyes and look at it, we say, this button gives you all the start overs you need for the rest of your life. And it doesn't matter if you lose it, because once you've held it next to your heart, that gift is always there.
Whoa, that is like the super gold nugget. And what I would love is to have you repeat that, if you wouldn't mind, about once you give them the button, then even if they lose it, you go ahead, you explain it.
Even if they lose it, that gift of start overs is theirs forever. It's there forever. And often as adults, if something starts out sad in the middle of in the morning, or we're upset about something, or we watch the news or whatever, we think, oh, this is going to be a terrible day. Or, oh, the weather's going to be 3,000 degrees in Texas. This is going to be a terrible day. And that helps me remember, wait, I can start over. I can reframe my thinking. I'd like to say I do that every time, but then that'd be perfection, and I'm not about that. But yeah, that's what it is. I have them all, and I have them around my house. I have been even known to sprinkle them in people's car trunks, and people I know are in their purse. And yes, anyway.
I remember somewhere with you, you saying, here I have an SOB. And then I think what you told me too is that then you sometimes would give it a child or something too, so that they keep one for themselves and then go find another person that way.
Yeah. And I would like to clarify that to a child, I always called it a start over button and never an SOB. I somehow didn't think that would translate well with parents. So just saying.
There you go. Well, I would like to know, it's like, what were you really passionate? How did music come into your life? And what were you passionate about with as a little kid growing up? What was the name of that small town in Texas? And
Monday, Texas.
Munday,
Monday, Texas. And I used to think it was in the middle of God's nowhere. It was 75 miles to any place, and we had one drive-in theater. Anyway, I loved to sing. I sang in church. I sang in the choir. I sang in high school choirs. I like to dance. I like to make up my own songs. And now that's helpful because when I forget the words, I make up words now to songs that I can't remember. And I got to perform a lot. And it's only now in this season that I learned that all those performances weren't about me. They were about vesseling the light. They were about vesseling joy. It was very big in those days to do something they call pantomimes. And you'd play some pop song and do kind of a little dance routine and mouth the words. Now they call it lip syncing, but that's a generational thing. Yeah, and I love to listen to sounds. There's a lot of silence in a small town in those times, and I listen to frogs, and I listen to crickets and stories and night sounds. And then when I went to college, I was a music major. And I got to do a lot of performing. And again, in those flower children days, we did a lot of spontaneous performances, pretending we were somewhere, and we would sing, or we'd just be on the campus and we'd say, let's do a musical. And we would just do that. And I realized in saying that, that taught me that musicals are everywhere.
Musicals are everywhere.
And they're just waiting to be heard. And I learned about flowers and writing with purple chalk on the sidewalk and all of those things. I mean, make love, not war in those days. Anyway, I've had a lot of laughter and a lot of wonderful teachers and a lot of support people in my life, a lot of teachers. And again, I'll go back to saying my students and grandchildren and friends are my best teachers. And what I've come to understand fairly recently, as I've tried to embrace the current thought of live in the moment, which I realize is encouragement, not a accusation. That I went to a workshop recently that was entitled Recipes for a Sacred Life. And it's changed everything. And I look back over my life, and I look at now. And even though I was really worried about doing this today, it just kept coming to me. This is sacred time. This is sacred time. You get to be with people, some you can see, some you'll never see. And what happens is not about me. It's about the sacredness of the moment. And I know that the people that live in my head, I call the chatty ladies. And they were having a field day, making suggestions. My turn, say this. No, that's not a good idea. Don't do it. And I thought, oh, would you ladies go to sleep? It's 5 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, so they're now sitting over in the corner. I gave them something to read, Mary Oliver, so they wouldn't bother me.
Oh, I just love it. You know what? I just think that is so great. And I know, well, one of the many things that you're doing now is you are a poet, and I know every day you put out a little poet that you tend to write with. Where's Waldo the dog? I
Where,
just
Waldo, come here, Waldo.
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 Where's
Please,
Waldo?
come here, Waldo. Do you want him to say, I, okay,
I
here he
would
goes.
like to hear Waldo sing. Everybody who wants to hear Waldo.
Waldo, enough, enough. Waldo, thank you. You may stop.
Oh, we have to see Waldo a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I'll see if I can get him up here. He's. I'm not sitting on the sofa where he likes to lurk over my shoulder. So.
Well, I love the fact that at one point in your life, when you're living, by yourself, that you decided to get a dog. And I remember, like, what do we name the dog?
I'm going to show you while you're talking. I'm going to show him. Can you see him? Wado, wado, wado.
Right on key.
Of course, he's well trained. I mean, I can say, Waldo, don't come, and he doesn't. It's one of his best strengths.
Well,
sorry.
No, I love it. I love it that Waldo is always in the background singing up a storm. So what I would really love is to hear like a poem or two. I know you've been writing like a lot, and especially the different things that you wrote. Boy, in isolation during COVID, and they're just uplifting and funny. And would you share a couple of those with us?
I'll share a couple. And before I do, I want to say that part of the most, I'd say, important part of awakening this part of myself was my experience working with Judy. And I started out and I would find words other people had said, and I would find a picture that would go with them, and I would post that. And she would go, that's nice. What about your own words? What about maybe some pictures? I'm going, oh, I have nothing to say. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so
you were a good student, right?
Well, oh my gosh, you were so encouraging and a little pushy. And so I finally took the risk. Because, putting your words out there is kind of like being a flasher. You're kind of going, look at me, So anyway, okay, so
a good visual there, Jan.
Thank you so much. Yes. Please note I didn't flash. Okay.
Not today.
All right. So I will. I pulled. You asked me about this, and again, you taught me something because I went through stuff, and I thought, well, I don't have any good poems. I don't know. Anyway, so I went through reading all this stuff, and turns out I didn't realize this. Turns out I am a writer. How about that? I'm going to read you a couple of the. Sometimes I write what American haiku, which is 17 syllables, but not in the 5-7-5 line. So I thought I'd read you a couple of those first. This one was exactly 17 syllables, and my granddaughters clap them out to make sure I'm right. Okay. Some mornings, life's jigsaw puzzle is missing a piece of the sky. Would be an example. This morning, I texted God with the perfect solution. Yes, I didn't get a reply to that. And this is a poem about growing older. As I grow older in my seasons, I am learning to wander through the darkness. Sparkling light no longer burns my finely lined fingers. Mystic creatures go before me. They know our destination as we move more deeply into life's forest. Silvery wisdom softly feathers behind me as a gentle guide to those who may follow.
Beautiful. Let's take a deep breath in on that one. Yeah.
And then I would like to read one humorous one. Let's see, Jan. Someday when I grow up, I'm going to know more about technology. Let's see. I'm looking for one that you, because you referenced you referenced the time. Oh, here we go. You referenced something during COVID and living alone. This one is called Insomnomania. I have to get up here closer where I can see it. Heart pounding, counting to 10. Forward then backwards, again and again. I try to recall all the methods I know. Breathe in, breathe out, say goodnight to each toe. Count sheep that leap over fences. Against head noise, I have no defenses. A group of ladies inside my head are making suggestions outlined in red. They wake me up for a midnight board meeting, saying my behavior is self-defeating. I finally get up, slightly sleepy and floaty, take a walk in the dark. Is that a coyote? Maybe I'll read. Now, where is my book? Things that need doing are everywhere I look. Or maybe a snack. I'll do a few stretches to strengthen my back. I could call a friend. Would that be unwise? They're early to bed and early to rise. Okay, I give up. Going to lie here and fret. Stop looking at the clock. Is it morning yet?
Wow.
Thanks for letting me share.
Oh, thank you for all that you do and continue to do. So I have one more question.
Right.
I love it. Doing great, Jan. What we love to do as our paradigm shifter community is to, well, first of all, put a blessing on you and your work. And also ask you a question. What would you love to have us as our community hold for you? What would you love?
Hold for me that I will continue to listen in this surprising time of learning and will take the challenge to share it out.
You got it. Okay, so here we go. Put some energy. All you have to do is catch it. Wow. What a beautiful soul you are, and that you continue to keep on growing and glowing. And I love what you said about the light, that you are such a light. And here you go.
I have one other thing to say, and it is I also have this incredibly supportive family, and they keep me laughing and honest, and they let me be.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for enlightening and for all that you do and have done. Thank you so much. Transformation Tuesday. There we go. I love it. There you go.